Hello, our next guest is soon to take on one of the toughest roles on the London stage at the moment. He's about to take over in the hit musical Time, of course, from Cliff Richard, and although he's used to performing for weeks on end in rock concerts, David Cassidy now has an exhausting schedule ahead of him every night. Well, good morning, David. Congratulations. It's brilliant news.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it is. It's great news for me,
How did it
too.
all happen?
How did it all happen? Well, it's not all that interesting a story. I suppose when a producer has an idea to do something as ambitious as Time, Dave Clark, being the producer in this case, called me and spoke to me about it. And he came to Los Angeles, and we sat down and talked about it, and I told him that I very much wanted to see it, and I had heard great things about it. Actually, Cliff and I were working with the same producer. I was in the middle of making an album, and he was getting songs together. And I met Cliff, and he told me about what he was doing in it, and he played me a couple of the things, or my producer played me a couple of things. And I thought the songs were great.
Yeah.
And he was putting the concept album together with Freddie Mercury and Stevie Wonder and Cliff. And so anyway, Dave Clark came to Los Angeles, and we sat down and talked about it. He played me the songs, and I read the script, and I flew over to see it, unbeknownst to anyone. And I decided it was, having always wanted to be, I think, like most American actors, we all aspire to be on the London stage in the West End. My father certainly did, and I must admit that I've always had a desire to do that, an ambition.
Isn't it quite difficult, though, because obviously Cliff has made it his own in a way, and it's been a huge hit. It was a little bit daunting to kind of take over from somebody else. Are you going to do it differently?
Yes, I am. The only way to approach it is I can't possibly do what Cliff does, and Cliff, I think, would say he can't do what I do. I bring something else to it. Although, you know, what's funny about your persona and your image, his or mine, a lot of people have said, well, you know, you guys are kind of alike in that respect. I think it's because we're probably two of the oldest guys in rock and roll. But other than that, I mean, he's here in Britain. He's in an institution. I'll say that one more time. An institution. And there's no way you can come in and do that. I would never attempt to do what he's doing. So I'm going to bring something else to it.
But you must have got lots of your old fans still here when you come
I hope
back.
so. If I don't, I'm not going to be in it for long.
Do they still come up and kind of...
Oh, yeah, they're great. I must say that, you know, they've been smashing for my whole career. They have, even when I left the business for years. It's a wonderful thing to, you know, I think all entertainers and actors and what we do, or singers, the public is what makes you. There's no way two ways of looking at it. That's just the way it is.
And they certainly made you in the 70s. I mean, you were well, you were an idol. You were on cornflake packets and goodness knows what. And they must have been pretty crazy days, I should think.
Oh yeah, they were very crazy days. But fortunately, those days and that kind of hysteria is behind me. And you know, in America, I've performed a lot on the stage, and I've done an awful lot of acting. I've never done any here. So here I'm known more as a pop star, and people refer to me, as you did this morning, pop star David Cassidy. In America, they would say, if I were doing Good Morning America, they would say actor David Cassidy is here. So in that way, I guess I'm perceived differently.
Yeah, there was a time when you were perceived very differently indeed, David, wasn't there? When you were perceived almost as sad David Cassidy, lonely David Cassidy, and you went through that well-publicised trauma.
Yeah.
How have you actually managed to blot all that out of your mind? Because at the back of your mind, there still must be real fear.
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of that is misconception. It's funny, because I talked, I think, rather openly and honestly about the emptiness and the loneliness and the feeling of being isolated, not being able to walk down the street. I think people misunderstood me because obviously it's interesting stuff to talk about. I frankly look back upon those times, and you know, I have nothing but good memories about it. I mean, the highs that I experienced, very few people will ever get close to, and I know that I've been really fortunate to do that. And I made some great, you know, I made some great friends and relationships in those days. I'm still very close with Susan Day. It was a real special time. I was able to reach and touch millions and millions of people.
Was there any one moment, any one incident that looking back, you thought, this is it, I've had enough, I've got to get out?
No. Well, as you're wrapped up in the boot of a car and you're, you know, banging down an alley somewhere. I think there were a number of moments when I thought about it, and I thought, you know, this is absurd. No one should live like this. At the same time, I realized I had to give up. And in a way, and I will be quite frank with you, there is a part of me that I wish I could have the creativity and the opportunity to do what I could have done then. I had no desire to do it, but basically I could have done anything I wanted to do. I now, in giving it up, the business is about power, and it's about how much power one can wield when going in to make a deal to make a motion picture, or to go and do time, or to do any kind of a production in terms of stage, television, film, or records. And there's a part of me, you know, that I know in my heart, and I'm not a fool, that I had to give all of that up. I had to give up the momentum, the power, and I guess the feeling of being one of the more important artists on the planet, and I no longer am.
Well, it's great to see you back in Britain again, and actually it's very interesting because we're going to play some music in our Pop Shots slot in a moment, which
yes.
Of course is one of the songs that Cliff made famous, She's So Beautiful. So if you
yes.
haven't learnt your lines yet, you can sit and listen to it.
Well, I've just learned a song.
Anyway, if it's your birthday, you share it with actress Penelope Keith, whose 40th birthday will soon have to sing today's Pop Shot each and every night, and I'm sure he's heard it enough times already. But now let's remind ourselves of that marvellous song, She's So Beautiful. It's sung here, of course, by Cliff Richard, and it's dedicated to everyone with a birthday today. Thank you, David, very much.
Happy birthday. Thank you.